When Benson first decided to prepare for the NCLEX, he started with excitement and confidence. Like many beginners, he assumed that safety and infection control was one of the easiest categories, and in his mind, it was just hand washing, gloves, masks, and keeping things clean. He believed it was the simple part of the exam. But the NCLEX had a very different plan for him. His first NCLEX-style practice test humbled him in a way he never expected. A question popped up. A client with active tuberculosis is being admitted. What type of room assignment is required first? Benson hesitated. He wasn't sure. Another question. A neutropenic client receives a food tray from home. Which item should the nurse remove immediately? He guessed. Another one. During catheter insertion, the nurse touches a sterile glove to the bedsheet. What is the next correct action? He froze. Then, a chemical spill occurs in the hallway. What should the nurse do first? He had no idea. When his performance report loaded, his heart sank. Safety and infection control, below passing standard. He stared at the screen in disbelief. How could something he thought was so easy become the very category pulling him down? He felt frustrated, embarrassed, overwhelmed. And even worse, he didn't understand why this category was so heavily tested. He didn't know that safety and infection control is the backbone of every nursing decision, didn't realize that NCLEX uses this category to determine whether you can keep patients alive, prevent infections, and maintain a hazard-free environment. He didn't know that this category alone has the power to determine whether you pass or fail. To that stage, Benson was where many students are confused, discouraged, and unaware of how deep this category really goes. But that was then. Everything changed the moment he made a decision. He wasn't just going to pass the NCLEX, he was going to understand nursing deeply, he was going to master safety because safety saves lives. He started with the basics. He learned standard precautions, not just by memorizing but by understanding when they apply. He understood the real meaning of hand hygiene, when to use sanitizer versus when only soap and water works, especially for diff. He learned proper use of PPE, glove changes, and how cross-contamination happens in seconds. He moved to transmission-based precautions, droplet, contact, airborne, and mastered the diseases linked to each. He understood airborne negative pressure rooms, droplet mask requirements, contact precautions for resistant organisms, and how to protect immunocompromised clients using protective or reverse isolation. He practiced donning and doffing PPE until the sequence was as natural as breathing. He learned surgical asepsis, sterile fields above waist level, never turning your back, the 1-inch contaminated border, and how to maintain sterility during procedures like catheter insertion and wound dressing. He gained confidence in preventing healthcare-associated infections, CAUTI, CLABSI, VAP, and mastered the steps to prevent each one. He learned the chain of infection and how nurses break every link through proper technique, equipment cleaning, environmental cleanliness, and antimicrobial stewardship. He embraced general client safety like a professional. He learned fall precautions, bed in low position, call bell access, alert bracelets, clear pathways, proper lighting, non-skid socks, and how anesthesia or sedatives increase fall risk. He learned safe restraint use, legal guidelines, circulation checks, documentation rules, and alternatives to restraints. Seizure precautions became second nature, padding the bed, suction available, oxygen setup, turning the client to the side, timing the seizure, and never placing objects in the mouth. He mastered assistive devices, canes held on the strong side, walkers moved before stepping forward, crutches using the correct gait patterns, and wheelchair safety during transfers. He understood safety for infants and children, crib slat spacing, choking hazards, car seat placement, and child-proof environments. He understood safety for older adults, removing scatter rugs, managing polypharmacy risks, preventing orthostatic hypotension, and assisting with mobility. Environmental safety became easy, checking for exposed wires, avoiding extension cords, ensuring working equipment, maintaining clear floors, and recognizing fire hazards. Oxygen safety became automatic. No smoking signs, avoiding petroleum-based products, storing tanks safely, and preventing sparks. He moved on to accident and injury prevention. He learned fire safety using RACE and PASS. He understood disaster planning and triage categories. Radiation safety became clear: distance, shielding, time limitations, and proper PPE. He learned hazardous material handling, chemo spill protocols, and OSHA guidelines for workplace safety. He became ready for emergencies, natural disasters, bioterrorism, mass casualty events, and learned how nurses respond first. He studied how to handle hazardous and infectious materials, needle stick prevention, sharps disposal, double bagging contaminated linens, safe handling of lab specimens, and reporting exposures immediately. He understood security protocols, managing violent clients using de-escalation, preventing wandering in confused or dementia patients, responding to elopement risks, and protecting infants from abduction through ID bans and security systems. He learned emergency codes: Code Blue, Code Red, Code Pink, Code Yellow, and how to respond to each one. And then came one topic students ignore but NCLEX repeatedly tests: safe food handling, storage, and preservation. He learned refrigerator temperatures, freezing guidelines, reheating rules, preventing cross-contamination by separating raw and cooked foods, and keeping immunocompromised clients away from raw vegetables, unpasteurized milk, deli meats, buffets, salad bars, and undercooked meals. He understood why neutropenic clients must avoid fresh flowers, fresh fruits, and uncooked vegetables, and how bacteria multiply quickly in improperly stored foods. Slowly, something incredible started to happen. The questions that once terrified him became easy. The scenarios that overwhelmed him now made perfect sense. He began to answer confidently. He began to think like a nurse. He took another NCLEX-style test. And the same category that once dragged him down now lifted him up. Safety and infection control, above passing standard. The day he sat for the NCLEX, he wasn't scared. He wasn't confused. He wasn't hoping for luck. He was prepared. He was safe. He was competent. He was ready. When his results came in, he took a deep breath and opened his report. And this time, the line that once broke him now made him smile. Safety and infection control, above passing standard. Benson passed the NCLEX in one attempt. Not because the test was easy. Not because he guessed correctly. But because he became the kind of nurse the NCLEX is looking for. A nurse who understands safety, protects patients, prevents infections, anticipates hazards, and practices responsibly. His transformation wasn't magic. It was commitment. It was understanding. It was mastery. And now, the same transformation is waiting for you. If Benson could rise from confusion, fear, and below passing standard, then you can rise too. You can understand, you can master this category, and you can pass not by chance, but with confidence. Because when you truly understand safety and infection control, you don't just pass the NCLEX. You step into the real world as a safe, competent, trusted nurse ready to save lives.